Hello, class. I just wanted to send a quick note because many of you are asking questions about the second proposal. So I was going to just clarify a few things for you. So currently I'm sharing my screen. You should be able to see the second proposal called Changing the Game. We know that this is a Nike proposal. If we remember from the Nike case, basically what Nike was doing in the case was they created S23 NYC in order to get directly into the hands of the consumer, their products, to try to avoid some of those third-party distributors and figure out ways to sell their shoes directly to the consumer. If you remember from the case, they did a season 1, which included stashes, drops, shock drops, and cams. And then they transitioned into season 2, which was more of a global strategy, thinking about sort of growing their D2C connections, and also that people liked doing work with others in this, like kind of like doing these types of things, for example, the scavenger hunt with others. So they created stash squads, if you recall. They did the Art of Champions campaign, and then the Kendrick Lamar tour was another example. So those are examples of their D2C that they utilized in the case. Your challenge for this particular project is that you are going to create a new campaign. Now it's going to be around a specific shoe. So it can be a shoe that already exists that Nike has, and then you're going to recreate it and or do something new, interesting, and different with it. Or it can be a brand new shoe that's never been seen or done before. And again, in this particular case, you might want to consider shoes that Nike doesn't have already a lot of market share in. So we know they have a lot of market share in basketball shoes, football shoes. If you recall, from the case, they were really trying to target sneakerheads. In this particular case, I kind of want you to stay away from sneakerheads and want you to think about some other types of consumers. So you're going to be creating the shoe, and then you're going to be targeting that particular shoe to a specific group of consumers. So for example, if you were going to create maybe, I don't know, like a hiking boot, a Nike hiking boot, I want you to really think about 3 populations of consumers that might buy that boot. So maybe it's people that like to spend time outdoors. Maybe it's the military. Maybe it is specific people who go to outdoor boat and RV shows. I don't know. There's just an example of 3 types of consumers. So if you can tell me why they want the shoe, right? So it's this type of consumer, here's the shoe, here's why they want the shoe. Then the third part of the project is getting the shoe directly into the hands of the consumer. You can use a stash or a cam or a drop. Those things are okay. I just want to make sure that it's specifically designed for that population and that it makes sense for that population. So if you're going to drop the shoe, this hiking boot, for example, it needs to make sense where it's being dropped or how it's being dropped that aligns with that population or that target market. So for the deliverables for this particular project are a 3-page executive summary. As I've mentioned in the past, I'm less concerned about the length, more concerned about the quality that you're submitting. I do want at least 3 references for this particular project. It's much more, it's an easier pitch if you have some reliable sources. So for example, if you, for this hiking boot, if you say in the past 20 years, hiking has become, due to COVID, hiking has become a more common and popular activity for, age range, blah, 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 cited by whomever, right? That's going to be a more likely source. And then, of course, a visual representation. So here's kind of the components. The only thing I haven't really mentioned is make sure that you are able to articulate why it's cool. And it doesn't have to be cool for me. It needs to be cool for the target market that you're trying to get this shoe to. And then just questions to get you thinking. here's kind of what I'm not grading on this specifically, but these are the questions that I would probably ask if I was grading your final executive summary. So think about these questions as you are finishing up your executive summary. So let me quickly, I don't typically like to do this, but let me quickly just share some examples. So one group did a Nike Disney partnership. And so you see they did I think this is a dunk with specific colorways. Now colorways are fine, but I want you to think about other things besides just colorways, because just putting a colorway on a shoe isn't necessarily going to make it all that more marketable. This particular group, I think, was trying to market to people that liked movies, kids that were interested in different types of cartoons. And then I think they also included like people that are wearing shoes for fashion rather than for form. Let's see, another example. This one, I think you can see it. This group did like an Earth Day. So I like this one because it really does take into effect that global strategy, right? So Nike is trying to increase their global reach. So I think if we're talking about explore, invest, and scale, we want to think about what that looks like. And this particular group, I think, did a partnership with waste management. As you can see here at the bottom, there's a little waste management, then there's a little earth. So trying to reuse the Jordans to sell to a population that's invested in, saving the planet, climate change, that type of thing. So their markets are quite a bit different than our traditional market for somebody that would buy an Air Jordan. Okay, and then let me show you one more example. Again, these are just samples. This is not, of course, how you have to do anything. These are just some examples from previous students. This one was the Gabby Williams one. So they did a specific shoe that she created. The only thing I would say about this one, you have to make sure your three subpopulations of market are clear. Just slapping somebody's name on the shoe isn't necessarily going to grow an audience. It could, but you need to articulate it well to me. These guys did a good job of kind of incorporating France and some different types of drops that they did in locations in France that would support Gabby. So I think that there's some place for this. Just be careful not to just say, okay, it's this person and we're going to give them a shoe. And then that suddenly is going to be the result. So be cautious with that. Hopefully this is helpful. If you have any, or as you're thinking through it, sometimes it's easiest to do what shoes. So do some research on the Nike shoes and see what shoes are interesting and your group is invested in. Sometimes that's the easiest place to start. Sometimes it's easier to start with the target market. So as I mentioned, hiking shoe, maybe it's a boat shoe, maybe it's a water sock, maybe Nike's getting into more kids shoes, maybe it's a roller skate, I don't know. So think about what that looks like, and then who is it that's going to want to buy this particular product. So those consumers might be who you're thinking about. So you're saying, oh, well, we have a whole population of, I don't know, a whole population of people that are invested in surfing, and they don't necessarily have some type of a surf sock that they need. So thinking about the shoe itself, the population, and then the direct to consumer usually comes together. So that third part usually comes together as you've designed your shoe and or thought of your shoe and your population or your target market / subgroups. If you have any questions, send me a note. I'm happy to help. I'm always available. And as you know, I am available to meet with you and your group. I'm always willing to do that via Teams or Zoom. So let me know, or if you just want to run some ideas by me, I will also answer any emails as quickly as possible. I look forward to talking with you soon and reading your great ideas. Bye.